Welcome everybody to Southport Subcommittee meeting. We are live streaming, so welcome to any of the general public who are watching, listening in. We'll just move on to, so welcome also to Rex and Jeremy and Nigel. Thank you. And we look forward to hearing. I've read the report that's come out, and it looks pretty positive, so very positive. So now we'll just move on. Apologies, and I don't think we've got any apologies at all. Public forum petitions and deputations. I don't think there's anything there from what I understand. Confirmation of minutes. Is there any matters arising there? Just any changes? Everybody will have been circulated with those minutes. If not, somebody like to move that they're true and correct record.
I will.
Sorry, the adoption of. Jeremy?
Happy to second.
Thank you, Nicole. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Notification of extraordinary and urgent business. There's just the one thing. The letter that came from Rex, Chairman, Southport, just subject to the director's remuneration. If somebody could just move and a seconder to include this as an item in business today on the agenda. If somebody could move that, please.
I move that that's an excluded business, please, Chairman.
Thank you, Neville. Seconder, thanks.
Happy to second. Oh, we've got all around the place.
Thanks, Nicole. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Nobody's got any questions at all to raise? No. Chairman's report? No, the Chairman's hasn't got a report. Extraordinary and urgent business. I don't think there's anything at all in the public section of this meeting, so move on to staff report. And the item 1, Southport New Zealand Limited's year ending result, the 30th of June 2021. And I'll just invite Rex and Nigel and Jeremy just to kick into that, and look forward to the presentation of your report.
Well, thanks very much, David. Yes, look, we have just earlier today released our end of year result, and Nigel and I will give you a briefing on that. If the technology permits, I think Nigel's going to try and share the media release on the screen. I presume, obviously, David, there we are.
Yes.
Obviously, a copy of this has already been emailed in advance of this meeting at the same time as it was released to the stock exchange.
That's right. Yes, thanks.
So, look, I'll just briefly highlight some of the features of that report. Obviously, look, it's a very pleasing end of year result for the company. Some of the summary of some of the key metrics are at the top of that media release. And the most important point is that the company has achieved a record after tax profit of $10.71 million for the full year. And that's a 13.6% increase on the $9.43 million recorded in the previous year. And the result is actually ahead of the guidance that we provided in the company's interim report that was issued on the 8th of March. And you may recall that at that time, the company was well ahead for the half year. So it improved even further in the second half, which is very pleasing. And it's especially pleasing because, as we all know, and we're dealing with at the moment, the COVID-19 has an ongoing effect on all aspects of business in New Zealand and people's personal lives, as we're experiencing at the moment. Anyway, total cargo increased 5.5% to just under 3.5 million tonnes. up from 3.2 million tonnes the previous year. And once again, the level of profitability has reflected firstly the port's productivity, which has been high, notwithstanding the challenges of COVID, and also the quite diverse cargo mix that we have, which is a real benefit for our business. Operating revenue for the year was up, was $47.33 million. Pre-tax operating profit, 14.68 million. Earnings per share increased quite substantially to just over 40 cents from 35 or nearly 36 cents the year before. And our net tangible asset backing has improved from $1.74 to $1.89. So turning to the question of the dividend, the board obviously takes into account both the reported profit and our free cash flow that's available to us for the year. The higher than forecast profit this year has resulted in a decision by the board to lift the final dividend to 19.5 cents, which is a full 1 cent increase on the previous year. And that results in a full year dividend of 27 cents per share, which is a 4% increase on the last year. And that dividend, as usual, is fully imputed. The dividend payment represents a gross return of 4.4% on the share price as at the 30th of June, which was just under $8.50. And it's a dividend payout ratio of 66% of the reported profit and 63% of our free cash flow. So, look, of course, we were affected by COVID last year, and the financial, we've managed to bounce back like a number of businesses, and the resumption of our key trading activities has enabled us to achieve this result. I'll now hand over to Nigel just to give you some more detail around the operations in the past year.
Thank you, Rex. Everyone hear me okay?
Yep. Yes, thanks. Yep.
Thanks, David. Yeah, first comments on safety. We obviously work in a hazardous environment where there's lots of heavy, large machinery, both on the water and on the land. So it's key because our critical risks involve fatalities, really. So it's really high on our priority is safety. We've got 6 key values, and safety is the most important of those. And we've had a great year this year, and our safety standard has been up to a high level. And we do put this down to our staff, important to our values, especially safety. And by and large, they lead the safety on the port. And we've had some excellent examples of safety culture in the past year. We had one forklift driver stop us, the port company, to stop the ship operating. We had congestion in the terminal. We had a ship operating. We had a train operating in there, and we also had trucks coming and going. He felt it was unsafe. He made the call. And so the port, for the first time in the history that I can remember, we stopped operating a ship. We cleared the train, we cleared the trucks, and then we resumed operating on the ship again. And that's the sort of culture that we're developing here, which is incredibly pleasing, and pretty proud of the team, really. Looking at the trade, that mentioned that we're ahead with our cargo. We're up, obviously, 5% last year. And, you know, bulk cargo is obviously the backbone of our business, and that's up 5.9%. And that's largely been driven by forestry cargoes. As you note, logs were up 54% on the same time last year, and wood chips were up 19%. If you look at our profile, total cargo profile, forestry probably represents what does represent 32% of our cargo base now, so it's a pretty key part of our business. And unfortunately, as happened last time we had lockdown on level 4, forestry cargoes were stopped and they're not producing or moving any trees out of the bush at the moment or transporting it. It's a bit of a crazy situation. We can handle them on the port and load them on the port on vessels, but we can't leave them. So expecting under level 3 again, forestry cargoes will start moving again. We had a record container throughput of 53,750 TEU, which was particularly pleasing. Coming up into May, it looked like we would do even higher than that, but unfortunately with COVID and the disruption to the supply chain, we never reached higher than the 53,750, but it is record. And it was a really pleasing result. As you know, it says that we experienced an 8% reduction in container vessel calls. So we had a record throughput, we had less containers. So again, that resulted in our terminal being heavily congested, and our team did an awesome job of handling a record number of containers through our terminal during that time. So a very pleasing result. As you would expect, the main cargoes influencing our containers are driven by the agricultural sector and principally, obviously, dairy. Dairy was up 33% through the port, and also refrigerated cargo. And that's, as the listeners will be well aware, driven mainly by meat cargoes. And the pleasing thing about both those cargoes is they're both handled at the port through our warehousing division, which is a crucial part of the supply chain on the port and help facilitate those cargoes being exported on MSC. I guess looking a bit more closely at the COVID situation, the supply chain, as most listeners will be aware, is the container supply chain is heavily impacted or disrupted due to COVID. There's a number of factors in play. Firstly, obviously the COVID, the pandemic has impacted ports, supply chains and shipping companies with mainly through sickness for a start. People haven't had enough bodies on the ground to handle containers. Due to lockdowns worldwide, we've got containers that are stuck in the wrong places in the world. And due to heavy congestion now, it's difficult to get these containers relocated to the right part of the world. We also have a massive demand. And lockdown, people buy a lot of products online, so demand has increased significantly. And then obviously there's not enough ships in the market. So there's a shortage of ships. So we've got massive demand, containers in the wrong part of the world, a shortage of ships. And that's caused a bit of a nightmare really in the container supply chain. So it's going to take probably at least 18 months for that to clear up, for more container ships that are coming off the production line to get into the system. So yeah, we've got a bit of pain in front of us, unfortunately, for another 18 months at least. Another key part of the issue we've got with container shipping is that the freight rates that these large shipping lines are getting on the east-west trade lanes, which is basically America through to Asia, through to Europe, far outweighing the freight rates they're getting by coming from Asia down to Australasia. So they're probably paying double, sometimes triple the amount container to be shipped on those trade lanes as they are being to move one into Australasia. So we're competing with the rest of the world, and you can see that through demand, or the shipping lines aren't coming as frequently down to New Zealand and Australia. So where we had a weekly service, now it's, at the moment it is more likely a fortnightly service. So we're hoping that that's going to come right again in the very near future. Obviously, we had the container vessel Martina here during mid-July, where we had cases of Delta variant of COVID on board. The vessel was tied up alongside the wharf for about a month while the crew underwent testing. They all got COVID, or the majority of them got COVID, and they had to isolate on board until they become well again. So that was caused a bit of disruption for the port. However, again, very proud of the way that the team handled the situation here. It was contained. We had some really good measures, processes in place to protect not only the port staff, but also obviously the community was very important. And also it was really important that we supported those crew members on board that were sick. So it was really important that they were looked after. So by and large, it went extremely well. And you can see by the way that the virus is spreading in Auckland that it is highly contagious. So the team down here with the medical staff and all the people involved did a tremendous job. As the listeners will all be aware that we got the great news that the smelter was going to stick around for another 4 years. So we're very pleased. A crucial part of our business, 30% of our cargo, and it's up to about 20% of our net profit, excluding the license fee. So it's a decent chunk of our profitability as well. So we're very pleased to see it continue. Like, we've obviously been working together with them for 50 years, and they've been a great customer of ours. We're hoping that come December 2024, they tick over and keep operating, because they're an important part of not only our business, but of the southern landscape, a lot of other businesses. But we are we are also talking to Just Transitions, as many of Environment Southland will be, as many other people in the province. And I guess the key thing is that if the smelter should close, it's really important that that electricity stays in the region. So there are a lot of people coming through the region talking about what we could potentially do with that electricity. But the most important thing, as I say, either the smelter stays open or they find another use for it in the Southland. That last comment in that section talks about two emerging opportunities. Obviously, everyone will be aware of the open water aquaculture project, which has been going on for some time now and come out of Swords. And obviously, Rex Chapman, our chairman, and Tommy Fogo, one of our directors, are heavily involved in that project. And the other key opportunity being discussed at the moment that everyone will be aware of is green hydrogen. So pretty exciting couple of opportunities. And if we can get those one or if not both of those across the line, it'll be great for Southland and great for the New Zealand economy, to be fair. Moving on to infrastructure, we hit a milestone this year. We hit our peak expenditure on our asset management plan. So that really covers the key maintenance spend for our Island Harbour, which is our wharves and our roads and a bridge and a lot of other areas. So we hit our peak, and we should start to decrease from financial year 22 onwards, which is really pleasing. But the Island Harbour was built back 60 years ago. It needed a bit of TLC to bring it back up to a good standard that would keep us going for the next 50 years. And the team have done a great job working through that process. So we're really pleased, and we're pleased to see a decrease in the cost. But in saying that, we're about to enter into, we are in a significant capital expenditure program, and listeners will be well aware that we've ordered a tug, a new 65-ton bollard pull tractor tug named Araki Y, which is on its way from Vietnam. That was an outlay of about 10 million. And obviously we're working through our consent to deepen the channel, which will increase our draft from 9.7 metres through to 10.7 metres. So we've done some extensive consultation through that and done a significant amount of work, and that's obviously in process. And we've estimated the cost of that project will be in the vicinity of $15 to $20 million. So although we're reducing our maintenance spend, we've got a heavy CapEx program ahead of us, but it's all about growth and deriving additional revenue and opportunities for not only Southport, but for our importers and exporters of the region. So that's my spiel. I'll now pass it back to Rex.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thanks very much, Nigel. So look, turning now to look a little bit forward and looking at our outlook. Look, for the next 12 months, we don't envisage that the market fundamentals will change significantly. And given that we've had quite a buoyant year, that's probably good news. However, we expect that the container supply chain won't improve for the next 18 months. And so that will have an impact on that part of our business. And the reasons behind that have been explained by Nigel. That unfortunately is a longer term problem. Our bulk cargoes, however, are expected to be consistent and remain the backbone of the company's business. And so as long as we can ensure that those cargo levels remain, that will give us good confidence about our profitability for the year. Our peak maintenance expenditure was achieved this year, and the port's now, as you've heard, embarking on a capital expenditure program that will provide us with future growth. As Nigel said, the region's working hard to establish some new industry, and aquaculture and hydrogen, and both of those will have a significant part to play in the port's future, we believe. As far as the current year is concerned, we estimate that our earnings are likely to remain consistent with the current year, which will be good news to the shareholders. And on the basis of that consistent earnings profile, and in the absence of any unforeseen circumstances, the directors will be endeavouring to maintain the increased level of dividend that we paid this year for the coming year at least. Obviously, we'll have the opportunity to update shareholders again at the time of our annual meeting, and we look forward to being able to do that, and for many of you being able to join us for that annual meeting in October. Thanks for that, David. Nigel and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Rex. Thanks, Nigel. No, very good report. I mean, yes, just looking at, you couldn't, considering the situation, and not just considering the situation in a normal year, it's a very good year. So congratulations and well done. I'll just, if anybody's got any questions now, if they could just come online. Neville.
Yeah, just ask the container ship with the COVID positive crew on board. Has that been unloaded now?
Yes, it has, Neville. I'll perhaps just ask Nigel to give a bit of an explanation around the process by which we got clearance for that vessel to be unloaded and to depart the port.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Rex. Yeah, it was a bit of a long process. The key thing, like whenever a vessel comes into the country, it has to be issued pratique, which basically means you've got a clear bill of health on board the vessel. As they didn't have this, the vessel wasn't issued pratique. So while it was tied up beside the berth, it was under quarantine. And it wasn't until each crew member was at least 72 hours clear of any symptom, and they'd been tested multiple times, that the Ministry of Health actually granted pratique. Once they grant pratique, we can start working on the vessel. Before that happened, though, the vessel had to go undergo a deep clean. So the accommodation block was cleaned 3 times. And I know that the handrails and all the areas that the stevedores were cleaned twice. So it was mainly clean vessel by the time it left Southport. In fact, my queue, I think they only cleaned their rooms once after the people had been in them that had been infected. So it was they did a great job in cleaning the vessel. So then once that was issued, pratique, we unloaded the containers and the vessel headed off towards Napier.
Well, that's really good news. Thank you, Nigel.
Thanks, Nigel. Any further questions? Anybody?
Sorry, just on that point, David, I'll just add that.
Yes. Yep. Well, we've lost you.
No,
Back on the game now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Just related to that point, David, just a bit of supplementary information. The Martina, of course, was occupying our container berth, and so that caused us an issue because it couldn't be moved at all. And so the Southport team did a remarkable job in being able to handle another container vessel at an alternative berth, and that had some logistical issues with having to move containers from the container terminal where they normally reside to that other berth. And so that was great to see that we managed to get through that disruption without disrupting our normal trade.
Thanks, Rex. Just Eric. Thanks,
All
Eric.
right, thank you. Excellent report, and very encouraging to see you've handled the complexities of COVID and other issues so well. My question is around the channel deepening. Firstly, after you've got the consent approval, what's your time frame for getting that work completed? And secondly, what will sort of be the payback time of that? Have we got bigger vessels that would come, or just how will it improve efficiency and the likely impact on just the return on that investment?
Well, Eric, I'll answer the first part of your question. Of course, the timing of the commencement of the project does very much depend on the processing of the consent and the successful grant of that consent. At this stage, we don't envisage that project would commence in a physical sense until the 2023 year. So March 2023 would be the likely commencement date, subject, of course, to having the necessary resource consent. And the construction timeframe is about 6 months, Nigel.
Yeah, that's about right. 6 to 9 months, Rex, yeah.
And as far as a return on that investment, before we actually give it the green light, you can be assured that the board is very conscious of the need to have a very sound and robust business case to support it, to ensure that we get an adequate return on that investment. And so that work is ongoing. And obviously, at the time that the project does get the green light, we hope to be able to share with the shareholders the expected revenue benefits and other benefits that will be derived from the project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Any further questions? Just a query. The seamen on the ships that do come in, are they vaccinated prior to coming, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, we don't have that information, to be fair, David.
Right.
Like, I guess the way we look at this is that Pratik has been working for about 100 years, and there's some nasty diseases out there worse than COVID. So yeah, everyone sticks to the rules pretty well currently, and I think that was an important reason why we accepted the vessel when we heard there was signs of flu on board, flu-like symptoms. We didn't know whether it was COVID. No one did. We still accepted it because you've got to take them on their word. Because if we start refusing vessels because of concerns of COVID and the likes, people will start lying and won't tell the truth. So we did the right thing by receiving the vessel. But I guess, and it's important for that reason, because we want the captains to be honest about the health of their crew. And I guess over the last 18 months, people can take comfort that there's been no COVID to anyone's knowledge that's got into the border, the maritime border. And I can guarantee you there would have been some COVID on some vessels coming through New Zealand. I doubt that there would have been completely COVID-free for 18 months. And there's hundreds and hundreds of international vessels that come through through New Zealand every year. So the current practices in place to protect our people that go on board these vessels is working. And now that they're all vaccinated, 100% of our tier 1 risk people are all vaccinated, that adds another layer of protection. So I think what we've got in place is sufficient at the moment, and we are talking to shipping companies about vaccinations, but the government is also talking about potentially looking at testing crew at first ports of call, but it's all just under discussion at the moment. Nothing's been decided. And you'll note that crew do not disembark in New Zealand anyway, majority. They've got to be on the coast for at least 14 days, and then they have to undergo a test before they're allowed to disembark after 14 days. There's not many ships that are on the coast for 14 days. So if you look at our website, you'll see we put up our shipping list, and it will say do not disembark, or they are not allowed to disembark. So you'll find that 99% of the ships that come in, they won't be disembarking. Going.
Yep. No, thank you for that. I can't see everybody, but if anybody's got another question at all. If not, we'll move on. No, thank you very much. It's an excellent report. I mean, a great year. Well done. And no, thank you both Rex and Nigel for that. There's no further questions. We'll move on. And if probably the next item on the agenda is actually to move into public excluded business to discuss the letter from Rex. So if somebody would like to move, Jan, if you could just cover the reasons why the resolution on the grounds of. Thanks very much.
Going into public excluded to confirm the minutes of the last meeting that were held in public excluded, and also to discuss the letter relating to directors' remuneration, and the grounds are to allow the council to carry out commercial activities. Section 72H of the Local Government Official Information Meetings Act.
I'm happy
I'll
to
move that, Chairman, that we go into public excluded business for those reasons.
Thank you, Neville. Somebody like to second? I can't
happy
see.
to second.
Yep. Thanks, Nick. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thanks, carried.